We're going to try to do is run over just a few basic techniques and what we can do to help you guys find some fish on these Arizona lakes that are kind of stubborn right now. Well, not too stubborn right now, but the last couple weeks they have been, and we're looking for a lot more things that are going to be stubborn with the lack of the El Nino. We got the term going around here now that it's going to be called the El Nuna because we're not getting any weather. Every morning we're going to try to start out with some I'm calling them a search bait. These are going to be our spinner baits, your crank baits, anything that you can run down the bank and do some reaction fishing, trying to locate some fish in a short period of time. You're hoping. Oops, that bluegill was smaller than that bait that he just hit. So that's how we're going to start out in the mornings. We're going to run up and down the banks. We're going to try to find us some structure. If you notice a lot of these fish, where are they keying around? They're staying around these rocks or up here in this moving water. So you got to keep that in mind when you're going down through. That's where your graphs are going to come in, and not even necessarily your graphs so much when you're finding stuff. Look at the terrain around you, because our lakes are down. You look at that terrain, you're going to kind of have a good idea what's going on underneath that water. If you got that nice little, it's a shallow flat coming down, if you don't have a graph, you can pretty much assume that's going to be going on out, and you'll feel all that going down through there too. Any of you guys in here doing some tournament fishing at all? Why not? You don't know. You got to go. Nice little tournament coming up this weekend. It's a Wild West Bass Pro-Am tournament going on up at Roosevelt. It's going to be the last one of the season. It's turned out to be a real good success for us running that tournament. We're averaging that 80 boat range, 100% payback, which you're not going to find anywhere else in this state at all. Anytime you got a chance to fish for 100%, it's a lot of fun. Co-angling on that. You sign up as co-anglers, you get to go out with 2 different pros for 2 days. One day on Saturday, you'll be with one guy, one the next day. You know, it's relatively cheap if you think about it. It's a $300 entry fee. That's 2 days of guided fishing that you get to see what makes this pro tick. What makes him find fish? What is he doing different than what I've been doing for the last 10 years trying to figure this stuff out? And one thing you're going to find, I don't know how many of these seminars you're going to listen to today, if you're going to get 6 guys up here talking, or let's say 15 over the last 2 or 3 days up here on this tank, you're going to get 15 different reasons on how to fish. 15 different techniques. They all have their own, as you will too. You're going to develop your own ways you want to fish. Whoops, that ain't going to work. Right here, I got myself a Wacky Rig Cinco. Have you fished with those before? Once. It's a fantastic bait, especially this time of year. I was at Roosevelt last weekend and just absolutely had a lot of fun with it. Didn't catch any big ones. Really wasn't trying to catch a whole lot of big ones. I was just out fishing. If I can catch a fish, I don't care what size it is. Get it to pull. Oh, they got it? There's a cover on this hook, so yeah, there he spit it out. This is a very effective technique up in Northern California, some little small pond that they call Lake Shasta, which was absolutely huge. It was a good fun thing. We fished these Wacky Rig Cincos up there for 3 or 4 days and just had a blast. This time of year, especially when we have all these low water conditions on this drop shot rig, you guys really need to back off the bank and start fishing deeper. These fish have been beat on the head so many times. I don't know. I heard a comment yesterday. They were out at Saguaro, and those fish, every time you pull up on them, they're ducking. Because they've had everything in the world thrown at them. The guys that are being successful are backing off where you can't see this stuff. And when it comes to that, you're also going to want to downsize the line. This is a 5-pound test line. I've caught several 6s on it. Once you get that fish hooked, you can let your rod and your reel do the work. Don't Don't try to force them in other words. There isn't that much brush in these lakes right now because the water is so far down. So let that rod do it. I just rigged this up, Texas rig. I had it on yesterday as a wacky setup because I didn't bring a whole lot of rods with me. I could fill the top of this up. You just let that thing sit out there and work it back, and it's a highly effective method. Actually, me and my fishing partner, Matt Shura, that's 2 or 3 years ago up at Pleasant. That's all we did. We won us a boat. We won us a brand new Ranger bass boat, and all we did was drop shot. And everybody talks about, I've heard it called a fairy wand. I've heard it called all sorts of different things, but at the end of the day, and call it whatever they want to as long as you're catching fish. When it hits that 60-degree mark, it's kind of like a light switch. You're going to catch them from 55 on up. They're going to start getting active. There we go, he got rid of it. And then after that, and then that 60 gets really good, and then up to 65. We're fishing Shasta. We've had 2 major events there this year. One of them was a Wild West Pro-Am. The other one was an FLW event. We were catching fish in 90 feet of water. Actually, this whole setup is what I was catching on 90 feet of water, that and a tube. Can you imagine? Drop shot in 90 feet of water. You find them on the graph. You just kind of, you hunt and peck around them, and that seemed to be the magic point for the bigger fish. A bigger fish to me at Shasta this year was 2, 2 1/4. If you went shallower, you could catch the 10-inch fish, but they don't count. You had to have a 13-inch, 12-inch minimum at the FLW. So again, that's where you start playing with your depth ranges. Okay, the 10-inch fish are hitting in 6 feet of water, 8 feet of water. Then you're going to be jumping on up. You start getting to that 40, 50 feet of water. Now all of a sudden they've gone to 1.5 pounds, up to 90 feet of water. You're getting your 2-pound fish. Those fish will kind of hang together. That'll hold true on these lakes around here too. You can go catch all the fish you want. There are people saying, "Oh, I'm catching a ton, but I'm not catching anything big." Change it up. Go to a wacky rig. Do a something. Just keep changing it up. If you find those fish, that's good. Now go to the next level. Go try a wacky rig. Try a different color. Try a bigger worm. A lot of times you can downsize and catch it. Last year at the Delta, I was struggling big time, and I talked to some fisherman. He's kind of not really that well known, Aaron Martins of all people. And he's telling me, he goes, these fish have been beat up. You guys are up here at the FLW. They just got done with the Bass Elites there. And he said, Mike, he said, of all things, I fished with you at Meade. He said, downsize. That next day I took a rod similar to this, a spinning rod of all things, on the Delta. You don't do this. Fishing that wacky rig Cinco. I had 24 pounds on that with 5 fish doing that, and it was all because I downsized. I downsized to 8-pound line. I was fishing 65-pound braid. I was punching everything. You're catching a fish here and there, but that wacky rig Cinco, because nobody else was doing it. A lighter technique, more of a finesse technique, because those fish got beat up. And that downsize your line, downsize your baits. I was throwing those 10-inch Cincos. I downsized to a 5-inch Cinco. I was getting bit every cast, it seemed like. That 11-inch Cinco lasted me 2 weeks up there. Never had to change it. So that's just some of the things. You keep changing if you're not getting what you want. Now I'm comfortable catching 2-pound fish all day long. Once you could get to that mark, then you're doing pretty good. But if you're sitting there catching 10-inch fish, change it up a little bit. Back off. These lakes, everybody goes up. You'll hear it time and time again. Everybody's up at the lake. Oh, Wednesday I had 25, 30 pounds of fish, and every time I threw out, I was getting bit. I go up for the tournament on the weekend. I can't find a fish. You got all the boat traffic. You got everybody throwing everything at these fish. Those fish are still there. They just moved out. They're not dumb. They didn't get big being dumb like me. I got dumb being big. Anybody in here like to do that striper fishing up at Pleasant? That's a blast. I live close to there, and we'll go up in the summertime, and I got a little swim bait on there. We'll play with that here. Go up there and catch those stripers, you catch those boils, you go up after work, after school, get the kids out of school. Especially May. May seems to be the time. You go up there and catch yourself 25 or 30 of them in an afternoon and just have a blast.